Welcome to Magic.ai, the operating system for hospitality. At Magic, we know an operating system is more than just software and systems. It's about people, because hospitality is nothing without them. So supporting the hospitality community is our number one goal.
I think there needs to be more of a support system. Like, you have to love this business and you have to love every aspect of it, including sharing tribal knowledge on what is successful and also tribal knowledge of what is a failure.
Founded by lifelong experts, we're building the place where everyone in hospitality, from seasoned pros to first-timers, can gather, share, and grow together. Plus, we're crafting scalable tools and AI-supported software to boost your business. Dive into our vibrant community platform packed with meaningful conversations and robust tools and templates designed just for you. Need more? Our custom software solutions have got you covered. From recruiting and staffing to digital playbooks and dashboards, we're working on building a unique hub of resources unlike any other. Magic is your single point of origin for important conversations, accessible tools, valuable insights, and more. Join us at magic.ai. The evolution of hospitality is here.
If you can explain that philosophy that everything you do is an extension of your beliefs, all of those have to be of equal importance and done to this certain level. And then when you open a new restaurant or the sous chef position becomes available, that becomes the obvious choice. The planet's 6 billion years old. If you're lucky, you make it to 80 or 100 and it's like half gone. What do you want to do? Want to travel, want to hang out with cool people, want to continue to accumulate experiences that make life fun, be a dad and hang out with the kids, and that's kind of it. So living more spontaneously and as things present themselves, jumping at it.
My guest today is Chef Graham Elliot. He is an award-winning chef, cookbook author, and one of the most recognized culinary personalities on television. In 2004, he was named one of Food & Wine magazine's best new chefs, and shortly after became the youngest 4-star chef in America. In 2008, after having been nominated for 3 James Beard Awards, he opened his eponymous restaurant, Graham Elliot. An avid lover of music, Graham was culinary director of Lollapalooza for a decade, where he cooked backstage for artists as diverse as Eminem, Radiohead, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Graham worked alongside Gordon Ramsay for 10 seasons of Fox's MasterChef and MasterChef Junior, and immediately after was a full-time judge for 3 seasons of Bravo's Top Chef.
I think what's interesting is now the word chef is not what it used to be. Not just when we grew up and the chefs throwing pans and yelling, that's all gone. But is it someone that can recreate consistently a dish 100 times a night? Or is it a teenager that makes one dish on TikTok that inspires people to get in a kitchen or maybe work in a restaurant? I started at 17 as a busboy and dishwasher, fell in love with the kitchen, the whole pirate ship mentality that you have back there. Eventually realized that this was not just a physical-based career, but something where you can add artistry and that it touches on history and, chemistry, geography, religious beliefs, all different things. And cooking became a looking glass into cultures and the world. So I realized this is what I wanted to kind of commit my life to, was this relationship with food. And always wanting to entertain as well. I think that a lot of us really do crave attention, whether it's, being able to receive awards and recognition, or especially respect amongst other chefs and culinarians, the customers, the guests. But with TV, it's not just the quote unquote fame, but for me, being able to, have an influence on 3 million people watching a show versus, 100 covers tonight. So as long as I can be honest and genuine and, get my thoughts and personality across, I felt that was really great. But, at the end of the day, I cook for a living and I still pinch myself that I can pay bills doing that. And I know that you have the same mentality, and the fact that, like you were mentioning with magic, that somehow this food lifestyle, I hate to call it an industry, but people can come in with whatever background they have and reinvent themselves and realize that that this is a way of life. This is something amazing and beautiful, and every day getting cool ingredients and working with amazing people, and then dealing with the guests and all those things. It's really a blessing to be able to do this, for so many years. And yeah, TV's fun. But at the end of the day, I'm in the kitchen, and that's what I do first and foremost. So everything else is just kind of extra credit.
Yeah, yeah, I love that perspective. And you're so right. I think something that you just said that resonated with me deeply is the beauty of this industry. I think historically, always, and going forward forever, will be that the hospitality industry kind of meets people where they are. And
Yeah.
now more than ever, that's so important, that we're in this kind of era of, less qualified candidates, if you are to consider it from like a resume
Hmm.
perspective, right? And that sort of things. I'd love, and kind of that will lead into my next question, which is talking a little bit about far out hospitality, because I want to cover kind of the culinary piece first.
Hmm.
I see from the website that it represents about 9 or 10 different concepts, it looks like. So kind of a two-part question, I guess. What is your role with the company? And can you talk about some of the projects that you guys have been working on and some things that you have in the pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, like you mentioned, a bunch of different concepts, from a nice high-end steakhouse to a smokehouse, Les Margot, which is our kind of French crown jewel, if you will. And I'm the quote unquote culinary director, and really get to do the things that I love and I feel are my strengths, creativity, interacting with the team, kind of cheerleading the vision, working with guests, and, things in that kind of public, persona, if you will. So it's been a great partnership with Philippe Armenta and the rest of the team. And, we have plans to continue to do new things. It's been 2 years now this week that I've joined the group, and we've opened 5 places together. So
Wow.
how crazy that is. But some people kind of freak out at that, and I feel opening a restaurant, it's the same as, oh, we have 40 covers tonight. Oh my God, there's a 50 top walk-in. And you can either freak out, or you could be like, bring it. What else? Bring
Right,
another
right,
50.
right.
Let's go. I've got one tenderloin in the house, but I'm gonna like slice it so paper thin. We got this.
Thin to win,
And
baby. Thin to win.
exactly. So, at the end of the day, we're in the make it happen business, right? And that's the fun thing. I always kind of think of Braveheart when they're all waiting, and it's like hold, to me, that's service, right? It's
Yeah,
like, all right,
yeah.
here we go. Doors are about to open. And, and that's what's so great. And like you said, it meets you wherever you are, whether you're coming out of high school, you're coming out of jail, you've got a doctorate in whatever, and you just realized you're really passionate about this instead. It's kind of come as you are, find a way to put your personality into it. And like I said, you've got the quiet person that's really introverted in pastry that doesn't talk to anyone. You've got the big tough guy on the grill throwing wood in there, and
Yep.
chopping up steaks with a hatchet. You've got every different type of person, and you get to interact with them one on one. And as a chef, as a human, you evolve, your philosophies change.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting thing.
And you said the word team a few times now. I reckon that that's something that's important to you, that kind of environment and that camaraderie, and also your role in helping develop that team. Can you talk a little bit about kind of your personal ethos around team building and mentorship, and what that looks like for you in your role?
Yeah, sure. So I like to sing and play guitar. I always say all chefs are failed rock stars, right? I mean, like tattoos and everything out. We're
Yep.
all in a band, and I feel that it's very similar being in a kitchen. You're surrounded by, this crew. It's like you're in a little submarine, but you are in a band, and everybody, with strengths and weaknesses, plays a certain instrument, if you will. So that's when just touching on those personalities. If you have someone that is extremely creative, and, they're the ones that love to come in early and be in the back and find, 40 different ways to work with a tomato, don't force them to just plate and put 3 dots on, and one sprig of this microgreen, because that's horrible. You might as well work on an assembly line and just build something. And then you have other people that, are all math based. It's systems. It's this and this. Those are the ones that thrive with food costs and numbers and clipboards and what have you.
That's right.
Don't go to them every day and change everything and freak them out. So that's what's great is you have this team and you are just like in music. You're good at guitar. I'm not going to make you play drums. You love to sing. I'm not going to make you sit in the back and play the tambourine. It's finding a way to get the most out of everybody, but not in a manipulative way, but to where everybody's excited to come in and do what they would love to do anyway. And, I think that's the beauty of it. Again, just working with everyone and also creating chefs, not cooks. If you can explain that philosophy that everything you do is an extension of your beliefs, you are working the fish station, the way you handle the fish, the way your knife is sharpened, the way you wipe down, the piano on your, the saute station, the way that your pans are seasoned, all of those have to be of equal importance and done to this certain level. And then when you open a new restaurant or the sous chef position becomes available, that becomes the obvious choice. Steve is now the sous chef and everyone in the kitchen should be like, yeah, of course, that guy's amazing.
Right.
And
right.
I always say it's not like you all of a sudden get your name and title on your chef coat and now you really start acting like, a chef. It's you want everyone from dish prep, etc., to have that philosophy and
you got to earn
kind
in.
of be equal. Yeah. I mean, there's always a hierarchy, with the brigade, whether it's a chef de cuisine, sous, what have you. But I always love that idea that we're all equal, and so we're all wearing the same outfit. We're all doing our thing. And, I think that that's a really awesome deal and everyone seems to respond to it. People will take a bullet for you if you're there doing the same for them. If you come in and you just try to manage and I'm the boss, do it this way.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody wants to live like that, especially as now, like we were just mentioning, the not the work ethic, but the background. You don't have people that stage 3 months in France coming in willing to work for free for 2 weeks
necessarily, right?
Yeah, I got the guy from Radio Shack that is 45 that wants to come in and is really passionate. So it's up to you now, not just to be creative with ingredients, but with people and how to really mold them into chefs.
Do you feel that you have ways as a leader that kind of you're able to recognize those individuals and work in kind of distinct ways with different people to pull their best out? Like, what is that like in an organization that has so many moving parts,
For me, I went to 12 schools growing up. My dad was in the Navy. We constantly moved. And I feel you have two options. You're either going to hide in the back of the class and not talk to anyone, or you're going to be the class clown and make everyone your friend. Yeah, exactly. That's me. And the other thing, being the big chunky guy, it's same deal. You're either quiet and getting picked on, or you're look at me, I'm going to eat everyone's lunch today, and it's like, oh, we love him. Yeah. And that's kind of the role I went down. And I feel that because of that, I have an ability to meet people and connect on some level right away. And that's the fun part. Again, whether you're talking to guests, whether you're doing a show and you're dealing with kids or contestants, at the end of the day, everyone's a person with their personality and background and journey and upbringing, etc. Yep. And I genuinely love to hear people's stories and to kind of grow that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of that bleeds into your television personality as well. Not to say that it's performative. I think it is who you are, right? Mm-hmm. Can we talk a little bit about your TV career? Because I think it's been just so prolific and you've found success in so many different areas. And I think it also kind of led you, I believe, to working in that unique capacity adjacent to the music industry, which you just kind of were talking about a little bit. I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of how that originally started to happen for you or unravel or roll for you and how you got those intros into the food television community. And then also kind of, I guess, part two of that is this amazing kind of collision of food and music. I know you're somebody that believes in that, and that there's some overlap there, and that there is kind of cultural influence that kind of bleeds into both of those things. But start first about telling me a little bit about how TV actually happened for you.
Yeah. So as you remember, the biggest thing back in the day was Iron Chef. That was the real cooking show for chefs, if you would. Not just the OG one, which I still watch religiously, just to see the chairman's outfits.
Oh
I'm a
my God,
peacock.
so
You've
good.
seen I'm wearing, pink chef coats and neckerchiefs now and everything. I totally own it. But that was where you have 1 hour to cook this many dishes and do it. So I was driven from probably, age 22 on to achieve greatness as far as what reviewers and critics and others would think of me, right? Like I needed to win these certain
As a
accolades.
chef, yes.
Yes, right. I need a beer nomination. I have to have, food and wine best new. Like otherwise I completely failed. So those were the things. And I wanted to be on Iron Chef as, another notch in the belt. Like I have to do this. I want to compete. It wasn't, hey, look at me. And then I did that, I went up against Bobby Flay. It was a chocolate battle and I was really excited with what we did. Ended up writing Slay Flay and chocolate on the plates and had the crowd cheering. And so that was really fun. But I enjoyed that. And from then they did Top Chef Masters and I went and competed. It was a charity thing. So I had gotten to the point where, okay, I don't want to compete on anything. I'd rather, be a judge or something else.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to prove. And I think a lot of that's also your, fear of I'm going to cut my finger off and ruin my reputation. But it was so fun. And from there, I had cooked with Gordon back in 99 when I was 21, 22 at Charlie Trotter's. And they, he reached out doing a new show. It's going to be called MasterChef. It's based in Australia. We're bringing it here. And literally was like, all right, cool. And they're like, well, can you fly out, in 2 days and see what you think? So I went out. It was at the W Hotel in Hollywood. There was Gordon and Joe and all these other chefs. I'm not going to say who, but I guess they were like trying out for the show too. And then I went in and literally just, hey, I have my own restaurant and I got to be back to work tomorrow. So this is fun, and did it. And it was one of those immediately, Gordon makes fun of my weight. I make fun of him. I'm like, well, the reason that you're not overweight is because you're from Britain and your food sucks. Yeah. And it was just this back and forth. And at the end, they pulled me aside, the producers and everyone, and said, we really love everything that you're about because you have a real background, but you're fun. And then like the look, right? You're tattooed and a big
Right.
guy and what have you. And if you do this, it'll probably change your life because it's a network show. And I had no clue what any of that meant. It was like, all right, cool. Went home. And then in 2 days, they're like, okay, we start filming on Monday.
Wow.
Here's a contract. And I did it, went out and ended up being 10 seasons, 6 years of, the regular show and 4 of junior. And from there, being on Top Chef Masters that has 200,000 people that watch it because it's on cable versus a network show. You own a TV, you can watch this. That was a completely different world. And it's still, however many years later, every single day, whether you're at the restaurant or the airport or walking down the street, someone will recognize you, say hi, ask for a photo. The first thing they say is, I knew you because of your glasses.
Right.
But it's funny because it's such an amazing thing for me to make somebody happy by spending 10 seconds, doing that.
Yep.
So
it resonates with people for sure.
Yeah. And so that's really where it's at. I've done other shows since then. Obviously, I'm flying out tomorrow actually to do something with the Food Network. But at this phase in my life, it's just I'm a chef and I'm in the kitchen 5 days a week at least. And if any TV thing happens, then great. But definitely your ego gets involved at the beginning, and you start feeling that's your life. That's what you're based on is, do I get to be on another season next year? Should I move to LA and get like the Lamborghini and live, in Hollywood? It's super tempting
Right.
to go down that road. But I think living in Chicago at the time for 20 years, it's the Midwest. It's people don't suffer fools, there's no ego type thing there. So, it's not fake. And I feel that that's a good thing, because I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, a million people that just live and die to be on whatever episode of anything, the silliest stuff in the world, just because they feel they need to do that.
Yep. Yep. And you had carried in this love of music into your career because you were kind of into music at an early age, right? And did the Lollapalooza stuff start before television or simultaneously, or how did that come to be?
Started before. So I had always kind of had that punk ethos. If it's not broken, break it. You told me I have to do this, I'm going to do that just because I can.
Which fits nicely with the kitchen in a lot of ways.
It totally
too, right?
does. So when we had Graham Elliot, what was so fun was the chef de cuisine, dishwasher, prep cook, busser, bartender, server. Everyone wore jeans, Chuck Taylors, and a t-shirt with our logo on it. So the idea was we're all equal. If you're a bartender and we need help prepping, then you can jump in the kitchen. If we're short on the floor, the garde guy can go help run food. It's all one crew. And we had one plate. We bought 100 of them from IKEA, one glass for every wine, water, beer, what have you, fork and knife. And that's it. It was not, we're going to invest in $1 million for all this silly stuff. And we played crazy music, and, it was a totally different vibe, and it was very anti-establishment. And Perry Farrell and Charlie Jones, the guys that kind of put Lala together, would come in because it's Chicago, and they said, we would love for you to do some food or something at Lala, because at the time, just like baseball and ballparks and stadiums, it's a hot dog, a burger, or what have you. It was a secondary thought. And so what I did was, okay, we're going to pick these 15 restaurants in Chicago that are independent, whether it's Paul Kahan or, Matthias Merges, these different chefs that had that same kind of philosophy and approach, and we want them to go and offer food. So you've got burgers from Kuma's and all these fun things. And then at the same time, it was, can you help cook for the headliners? And that was amazing, because literally it's like Kings of Leon was the first band, and we're prepping in a tent and then throwing all the hot food on the back of a golf cart, racing to the other side of the park, and I remember, Caleb and the guys like offering me some weed, and I was like, oh no, I don't smoke. And they're just like, good, because that was a test. And, and I was like, oh, this is so funny. This is so cool. And then we did a lobster corn dog, and we ended up selling, 25, 30,000 over the weekend, which is just incredible. And cooking for all the headliners and being on the side of the stage watching Metallica, and I have the set list, and then I see 80,000 people, and all I want to do is be like, Enter Sandman's next, like, get ready, because I know. And it was so neat. And then you go backstage, and it's like, you're meeting Soundgarden, you're seeing, these bands, there's Outkast. And it was really, that to me is the coolest thing in the world. Everyone's got their heroes, and to see these musicians and have them enjoy what you do. Eminem coming up and giving me the bro hug, and then introduces me to Rihanna and tells me that it's the first time he's ever had lobster. It's like, that's cool. That's like what I'm going to take with me, when I'm older and I can tell my kids,
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
yes,
because I'm glad you mentioned it. You are a passionate father, and I am too. And it's been so fun to kind of watch your boys grow up, because I have two boys as well. what is it like being a celebrity chef and full-time culinary director and also a dad on top of all of that?
It's amazing. It's fun because, when they're younger, it's always they want to be with mom. And, you're like, oh, fine, go hang out with mom, whatever. And, you get all upset. But then as you get older and they want more dad time, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again, just naturally, my favorite thing to do is teach and show things. So the minute someone has a question, why is the sky blue? It's like, oh, well, let me tell you, this is, the idea, the light,
Right.
refracts off of it.
Finally, you value my input.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But now in the last few months, it's like, you're such a boomer, this is skibbity toilet. And you're
No
like,
Riz, Dad. No Riz.
Yeah. You're not a Risley bear. Go back to the 1900s. And I'm just like, oh, I don't even want to try to learn this language. But,
yeah.
But no, it's amazing. And it's funny because, they enjoy food. But at the same time, I think every chef I've ever met has this conundrum where you want your kids to be exposed to great things and travel, but also at the end of the day, they'll do anything for like nuggets or Raising Cane's, Texas toast or whatever it is.
Hey man, I'm not a Raising Cane's hater. I'll say it.
No, I know. But it's one of those things that's, it's just funny because you don't want to feel like you're high and mighty and this foodie kind of person. At the end of the day, you understand and you're trying to show what good food is, but also let your kids grow into their own men and feel like they're from a young age, as you know, and you've seen and experienced, they really are their own person. And then you're guiding them to be as much of a great person or man as you can. But
yep. Are they at the age where they kind of understand like your vision for your career? Can they relate it all to, how you've built this empire on kind of the ability to market yourself as a brand and be in that arena, but also like as a chef,
Yeah, it's interesting. So I have three boys. My oldest, Milo.
Right.
Yeah. My oldest, Milo, 17 and a half, amazing kid, 4.0, the whole total opposite of me when I was in school. But, never is mentioned TV or my persona, anything ever. I had no idea if his friends or anyone mentions things, but it's never really been discussed. My middle one, Conrad, who just turned 14, has always been, I want to be famous. I'm going to do music or I'm going to,
he's got the gene.
do a show. I want to be on YouTube. Very, very much that guy. I remember when he was young and someone would ask for a selfie, and if they didn't ask him for one, he would like almost start to cry. It's like, it's so it's interesting. And then my youngest, Jedediah, who's 12, just thinks it's funny. We went to the state fair and, people are all coming over, to say hi. And as soon as they left, he'll run over and be like, oh my God, it's Graham. Can I get a picture? Like, making fun of everything.
Spoofs on it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really funny and get, to see, how they all respond to that stuff. But, it's great because again, you see the personalities, and I always wonder, I have brothers, if it's the order that you're born or, what life threw at you at that kind of age, but what makes people become who they are,
Yep. And life's thrown a lot at both of us in a lot of different ways. And I know that we both have been through some health journeys and almost a little bit in tandem in some ways at the same time. And you're somebody who I turned to when I was going through some of my health stuff back in 2016. Talk to me a little bit about your journey, because I see you now as somebody who's like obsessed with being active and obsessed with kind of like taking care of yourself. And that's obviously there's an arc to that story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So growing up, again, moving all the time from Hawaii, California, Maryland, Philippines, I was always really active, especially skateboarding and being in the ocean. And I think moving in from high school in Hawaii to Southern Maryland was a huge culture shock.
Mm.
And that's when I think I started looking to food as a way to cope. We lived on a Navy base, and in the military, there's enlisted and then officers. And the enlisted were all in this one area, and that's where all my friends are. And then there were like 3 houses for this, what they call the CO, the XO, and one of these other positions. My dad was the XO of the base, so we lived in this big house, miles from any of my friends. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
drive. I could never see them. So it's, take the bus and come home and you're by yourself. And so that was a super dark time. Start gaining weight. And then, as you continue to go down that journey, food is the one, mechanism, the one friend that you have. And getting into the kitchen, it's, you're always eating stuff. And
Totally. Tasting.
yeah. But the biggest, I think, was TV. And if you look, I went from 330 in 2009 to 400 by 2013,
Yep.
so only in that many years. And a lot of it is attributed to doing television and becoming a persona where it's Joe Gordon and I, someone makes a cheesecake, they go up and try a tiny bite, and then I eat
The finish
5
it.
humongous spoonful. Yeah. And everyone's laughing, and it's, you just accept that where,
Right.
okay, this is my role. I'm the Chris Farley. I'm just going to keep eating and be funny and
And I've got
round
to
and
be jovial the whole time. Yep.
Yep. And I remember my brother telling me, he's 5 years older. It seems like you're just accepting that and you're okay with, that. And as you know, health wise, you're back. You can't tie your shoes. You're holding your breath to get in the car. You just everything that nobody
Totally.
really thinks
Seatbelt
of. It's not just,
extenders.
you're on the plane. You can't get it. And you can't lean over because it's hard to breathe,
Yep.
and just everything. And I got to a point where it was just too much. And a main trigger for it was Milo, my son at the time. In elementary school, I went to visit, and one of the kids took a soccer ball and put it under his shirt and was like, look, I'm Milo's dad. And realizing it's not just you, it's selfishly you can keep eating, health and all these other things, you deal with personally, but having kids and realizing your son is going to look at this. He's going to
Your
deal with that.
choices are affecting somebody else now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not realizing that, and that it's really selfish to just go down this destructive path. So that's when I made the choice. I had a million gym memberships, trainers, diets, everything, and never worked. So I said, I'm going to get this surgery. I did the sleeve. I ended up losing 150 pounds.
Yep.
And that was obviously the biggest life change of all time. And you realize your ankles, your back, this is a very physical job, and it's a young person's job. So being able to wear clothes that fit and, just go out and exercise, where you get to a point you can't do sit-ups anymore. You can't push up without tearing your shoulders up. You can't. And it's funny because there is a stigma and people saying, oh, you could have done it on your own, or you took the easy way. And I'm like, the easy way to me is to just accept it and sit on the couch and keep eating, as a chef, not being able to eat everything or eat as much, or possibly your taste buds change, or, maybe I have to change careers. Maybe it's not
that
easy.
Was my
but
fear when I went through it, and all well, because I was constantly hitting you up with the nerves around the procedure that I went through too. My fear was like, well, shit, like I'm a chef. Like, is this going to change my relationship with food forever? Like, what is going to happen? Like, because that's my livelihood, and you were really great about helping me walk through that part of my life. So thank you. And actually, subsequently, to the testament of the community and hospitality, I then have been somebody who's helped other people go through it, right? Lots of people, lots of big names. I'll leave that up to them. That's their story. But I think it just shows that camaraderie once more, and how we are always kind of available for one another in those moments when it's like, oh shit, like this is not just a personal decision, but potentially a career decision too, you know? And so let's talk a little bit about kind of where you're at now, and what are some things that you are really looking forward to for 25, because it's right around the corner.
Yeah, can you believe it? I
It's
mean,
why
as we get older, it goes
it's
faster, and I'm
crazy.
just,
I know.
it it used to be, time was just standing still, and I can't believe. And now I'm like, wait, what? You and I just texted about this like a week ago about doing a podcast, and it's like, no, that was like 2 months ago we scheduled it, and I'm like, oh my god. But 2025, we're opening 3 new restaurants. Um, so professionally, lot going on. Um, I think personally, there's not a ton on the horizon. Um, continuing just to go down the path and trying to reset myself and get healthy.
Yeah.
I've changed my diet. I've given up every form of alcohol and starches and like heavy things like that. And it's easy to kind of fall back into certain things. And
Oh
and I don't
man.
know how you were, but I'm like the all or nothing, to where if I say I cannot have fast food, like no matter what, there's just no way to do it. And then all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and you're so hungry and you're so stressed. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to get 2 McRibs from the
Yeah.
drive through. And as soon as I do it, the next day it's like, all right, now I'm done. I'm going to go get 6 pints of ice cream. I don't care anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
so, I failed. I don't care. Um, but, you do have to kind of do those resets. And so that's what I've been on lately. And, also working on another show. I'd really love to do a kids show, and
Oh
looking at
cool.
doing a cartoon.
Oh
So
cool.
yeah. So you remember, I mean, the movie Inside Out, but imagine the same idea basically, but bitter, sour, salty,
Oh,
sweet,
I love it. As
spicy, and
characters.
exactly. You travel the world and everything else. And yeah, I think calling it Taste Buddies.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that fun? So,
I
I'm
can
already,
see
we've,
all the little like characters now, in
that's
my
what I mean.
mind's
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah, and you can have like sushi and like all the different names. And um yeah, so I think that hopefully something like that will work out. We've got, a 3-minute teaser. It's really cute. Also, I'd love to do a kids cookbook. Um but remember, our stuff growing up was way more cool. So I'm like, can you do a pop-up book? Or can you
Oh
do
yeah,
stuff with scratch
scratch
and
and
sniff?
sniff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, Jinx. Yeah,
That's the best.
that's
Or
what I'm
remember the
saying.
puffy ones? Like they were like
Yeah. Where you could
three-dimensional almost. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So those kind of things, or yeah, where you can touch it and it's like velvet or, spiky. So that's what I think would be super cool versus just here's recipes and here. I I can't follow a recipe to save my life. So I would much rather do a book where it's here's the things I put in the dish. I kind of chop this one up, but you can smash it if you want, and no right or wrong,
Yeah.
kind of do it.
Is it a conscious effort to think about how you're going to diversify yourself as you go forward into kind of the later part of your career?
I don't think so. It's more natural, organic. Just, oh, I'm really excited about this, or
Yeah,
oh, this sounds fun.
just stuff
And
you love.
then yeah, and as I've matured and you get older, you realize the planet's 6 billion years old. If you're lucky, you make it to 80 or 100, and it's like half gone. So, what do you want to do? Want
Yeah.
to travel? Want to hang out with cool people? Want to continue to accumulate experiences that make life fun? Be a dad and hang out with the kids, and that's kind of it. So um living more spontaneously and as things present themselves, jumping at it.
Who is the one person that you've hired or contracted that has transformed your business?
Wow, that's a good one. I would say Charlie Rushton, who has been working with us for a year. um Older guy, London based, and worked for Marco back in the day, and is kind of my right hand when it comes to the same philosophies and approach and learning
He's a
and
chef.
just he is a chef and really great with technique. But the strong suit is if I come up with something, he recipes it, knows how to get it ordered, sets it up, keeps it consistent. So uh, it's not good cop, bad cop. It's more each person's kind of in their own lane doing their strengths. And yeah, that's the coolest guy
That's
that
good.
we've added.
Complementary skill sets, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, the next one's on marketing. What has been the most successful marketing decision that you've made?
For me, the most successful marketing decision has been to go with social media 90% of the time versus sending out press releases and working with PR groups and everything else. It's the other thing is I do it all on my own. We don't have companies or other people, third parties. And I feel that being genuine that way has been great, where I can literally say to any guest tonight, hey, when you come back in, comes to the chef's table, message me, on Insta, whatever. And then they do. And I set it all up. It's the ability to get rid of any third party kind of person that you have to go through as a gatekeeper and just make it real.
Yep.
Here's a post. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what we just made in real time. What would you do with this? I've got these killer pumpkins. What do you think? And the interactions are amazing.
Yeah.
So
Your feed is, I love watching your Instagram feed because it'll be like a picture of the dog one day. It'll be picture of the food the next. You'll put up a thing on like, how do you rate your bacon? Like you're very engaging. Like you like to kind of get that response from people, which is, I think, so important.
Yeah. And you realize that that's what people want, right? Is a relationship with you. It's having a discussion. It's either a one way where all you do is talk and here's a picture, here's this, or you're genuinely, what would you do? And I have somebody from Pakistan, someone from California, someone from Russia, all giving different ideas. And for me, selfishly, I'm like, oh my God, I would never think to do that. Like, I've always done cabbage this way, but you actually pickle it for a year in a barrel and then do this. Look, I'm going to totally try that.
Yeah.
So
I love
it.
That's awesome. All right. The last one is on tools, technically software, but it could be whatever you want it to be. What's the one tool that you use every day? Could be a chef's knife, could be a notebook, could be whatever.
Yeah. I'm funny because I don't own a computer. I kind of live on my phone and, I feel that, a chef's best friend is going to be their, their knife, the most comfortable one in their hand. And that's what I'm dealing with 90% of the time. But also, the technology of having a camera, video recorder, a texting machine, FaceTiming around the world, just in your pocket. I think it's one of those in 50 years, you'll look back and it'll be like, air travel where you don't realize it really changed, not just the world, but humanity. Yeah. And so honestly, that's probably what I am using more than anything else. Yeah. Generic answer, but honest.
Honest is good. All right. And then the last thing I just wanted to ask you about is that, you and I feel this way about myself, and I can't say that you feel this way about yourself, but I feel at this point in my career, I'm kind of moving into a new era where I'm thinking more about kind of the state of my career, the state of the industry, what I'm leaving when I'm gone, right? Stuff like that. How do you, are there any takeaways that you have on kind of where we're at in the hospitality industry right now, either good or bad, and kind of, I guess also, and it's kind of a broad question, but also kind of where you see us going in terms of, restaurants and what they offer to people?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is now the word chef is not what it used to be. Not just, when we grew up and the chef's throwing pans and yelling, that's all gone. But is it someone that can recreate consistently a dish 100 times a night? Or is it a teenager that makes one dish on TikTok that inspires people to get in a kitchen or maybe work in a restaurant? It's kind of like journalism. You went and, worked at the New York Times and you went to the Medill School and got a degree. And then there's a 17-year-old that just posts on, Reddit or Twitter that has 10 times the amount of impact and followers. So
Yep.
there's no right or wrong. I feel that the restaurant world is a completely Wild West type of thing now, where instead of I need to raise $5 million, open my own place, have all this china and this amazing wine cellar. Now it's, I'm going to go in this back alley next to the dumpster. You knock twice and come in. There's 10 seats, rent's $800 a month, but it's me and a dishwasher. And then Michelin comes and loves it, and then you're busy because it's got this amazing cult status. So, there's really no right or wrong. It's whatever you want. And I think that's what's cool. It's an open door for any personality. You like food, you like music, you like politics, you like whatever. There's an avenue for you to come in and find yourself and do your thing.
Yeah.
In a restaurant. So
it definitely feels
it's constantly evolving.
It definitely feels more disrupted than ever in that way. Like, you're seeing just these small kind of little offshoot, like you're saying, back alley, pop-ups become global inspirations. And that part of it is really cool.